The information presented in this video is in no way intended to take the place of a pediatric basic life support class. In order to be competent in CPR and the techniques to relieve a foreign body airway obstruction, it is necessary to take a basic life support class from a certified instructor.
Everyone's busy, and taking a class in pediatric basic life support is one of those things that people tend to put off doing. That is, until they or someone they know had a close call.
It happened just a couple of months ago. We were just about to eat lunch. Alex was sitting in his high chair when the phone rang, so I gave him a bowl of grapes and ran to get the phone. I wasn't gone for more than a few seconds when I heard the bowl fall off the high chair. By the time I got to the kitchen, Alex was choking and his lips were already blue. That afternoon, I signed up to take a course in CPR for infants and preschoolers.
What is CPR? Well, the letters stand for cardiopulmonary resuscitation, which refers specifically to reviving the heart and lungs. But classes that teach CPR are referred to as basic life support, or for infants and children, pediatric basic life support, because you learn a lot more than just CPR. Depending on the class, you might learn general first aid, how to help someone who is choking or in shock, and what to do in a variety of emergency situations until trained professionals can get there.
Also, other common sources of choking are the foods that we commonly have. Parents seem to like to cut up hot dogs into small circular chunks. And as you can see, something this size will fit into the throat and can easily become lodged, and the child can choke on this. A more appropriate way to cut the hot dog would be to cut it lengthwise into a narrow chunk like this so that it would not get caught.
Some people may feel secure in believing that all they need to do is to call 911 or to activate the emergency medical system in their area. But there are two problems with that. First of all, even if you're fortunate enough to live in an area with quick emergency medical help, accidents can happen anywhere. You may be involved in an accident when you're on vacation in a more remote area.
And no one knows when these things are going to happen. They're always unexpected. They're never planned. But I think that there are lots of circumstances where a child has come in, and the parents will wonder, and they'll grieve, and they'll be upset, and for a long period of time they'll have the what if in the back of their mind. What if I had known CPR? What if I had been able to do it? Because you never know. It only takes somewhere in the range of 4 to 6 minutes for people to have permanent brain damage after they've had an anoxic injury or an injury where not enough oxygen is going to the brain for whatever reason. So the most important thing that a person can do to ensure the survival and long-term outcome of a person who may have had something like that happen to them is for someone who knows CPR to start it immediately and to access the 911 system as soon as they possibly can as well, because it's going to be critically important for that person not only to have CPR but to get to an institution where they can have ongoing care.
Yeah, we get quite a few swimming pool accidents each summer. Even with those little above ground pools and hot tubs, people don't worry so much. They think they're safe. And then there's the first-time parents who haven't gotten around to childproofing their home yet. Baby's already crawling, opens the cabinet door, finds something to choke on. Or the child puts a toy in an electric outlet. Those are the calls I hate to go on the most.
So with children and infants, it's usually not a heart attack like with an adult. For example, if you find a child that's unconscious, it's most likely caused by an electrical shock, or the child is probably choking on something. If you witness the choking, for example, if the child has choked on some marbles and you were in the room, the first thing you would want to do is to pick the child up and place them in your arms like this. Take the back of your hand and you're going to hit with 5 back blows to try to dislodge the object. At this point, take this hand and put it on the child's head and flip it over to your other arm, and you're going to find the landmark on the child's chest. The landmark is located by imagining a line between the nipples and going 1 finger width below that line. You then give 5 chest thrusts. Look to see if you can see the object. If you can see the object, it's okay to reach in there. If you can't, do not do a blind finger sweep. After the 5 chest thrusts, flip the child back over and give 5 back blows. And you would just go back and forth between the 5 chest thrusts and the 5 back blows until the object came out or until the child became unconscious.
Unintentional injury is a leading cause of childhood death and disability. In other words, the accident could have and should have been prevented. The flight of stairs should have had a gate at the top and the bottom. The cabinets where the window cleaner and other toxic chemicals are kept should have had child locks. The hot tub should have been covered and the backyard pool should have been fenced in and the gate locked. The electrical outlets should have had safety plugs. The toys with small parts should have been put up high out of reach, and the child should have had more supervision from an adult caregiver.
There are lots of things that you don't think that are dangerous to children that are, and I think that we're starting to realize some of those things, and we're starting to get rid of them. But you know, strings on sweatshirts, for example, are very dangerous for children because you know adults know how to use them, but children don't. They get caught, they get stuck, they get twisted on something, and you know the child panics and they don't survive. Or strings on window blinds, you know, is another occult thing that most people don't think about. I mean, children see them as things to play with and enjoy, and adults see them as things to open windows. But you know, there are instances where both of those things can be very, very dangerous, for children unless you're, thinking of it and you're aware of it and you've thought about it. Accidents can happen.
One of the things that we like to recommend to new parents is when you leave class tonight, go home, get down on your hands and knees and go around your house or your apartment and see what it looks like from the baby's perspective. Because you're used to looking at your environment from up here, and there are many dangers that are down at that level that you might not be aware of.
But even if the child's home environment is safe, it's smart for parents to encourage the babysitter or child care provider to take a class in CPR, or ask if at least one of the teachers at the child's preschool is certified.
It never happened in my classroom, thank goodness. But a friend of mine who's also a preschool teacher in the area had a really close call. Apparently, one of the kids brought in a toy for show and tell that had some small parts. And there are even some 4-year-olds who'll still put things in their mouth. Anyway, after she told me that story, I got certified in CPR, just to be on the safe side.
My wife and I are involved in doing foster care, and sometimes we take care of children who come home on apnea monitors and things like that. And even though I'm a doctor, they make sure that we're up to date with our CPR. So if that child has a problem, we're able to initiate CPR immediately. And fortunately, we haven't had to do that, but I think it's very reassuring for someone to know that they have the skills to be able to do it if the need should arise.
You don't have to have a medical degree to learn how to do CPR and perform other basic life support techniques. Actually, it's as easy as ABC: airway, breathing, circulation.
So as we talked about the ABCs of CPR, you would first start off by opening the airway. And this is accomplished by tilting the head back and lifting the chin up. Once you have an open airway, you want to get down close to the child's face. You're looking for the chest rising. You're listening for the sound of air. And you're feeling for breath on your cheek. Once you establish that there's no breathing, administer 2 breaths. If the first one doesn't go in, Rock the head forward and then back. Try a second breath. If the second one goes in, that means you have an open airway. You're ready to begin CPR. Find your imaginary mark between the nipples. Administer 5 chest compressions to 1 breath. You would do this for approximately 20 cycles, 5 to 1 being 1 cycle, and then at that point, check the pulse again. If no pulse, continue CPR until the paramedics arrive or until the child regains consciousness.
In a child, if you can institute a clear airway, a few breaths is all you really need to do in order to get that child to be able to breathe on their own once again. So it's a lot different than in an adult who may have underlying cardiac problems or heart disease or something like that, where even if you're breathing and doing CPR, they may not do as well. But children are quite resilient, and if you can control their airway, they oftentimes do amazingly well.
If you've already taken a basic life support class, but it's been a while, it's important to get recertified. Skills like CPR that you don't use very often, if ever, can get very rusty over time. It's necessary to take refresher courses to improve your rescue skills and confidence in your ability to use them, as well as to keep up to date on any changes in the techniques. Full-length basic life support classes and shorter refresher courses are available to the public in most communities.
I watch my grandchild a couple afternoons a week while my daughter works. So I took a class in infant CPR just in case. After all, when it comes to my grandchild, I'd rather be safe, not sorry.